We are creating a platform for those who are curious, one that tells the story from the artist's perspective. Moments in time captured from the innovators who are reshaping dance, music, theater, and the visual arts. This is the Working Artist Project.
All right, guys, welcome to the Working Artist Project. Today I have the one and only Corcoran Holt. He's an educator, bass player, brand new father, and he's played with some of the greatest names in jazz, Kenny Garrett being the most recent one. Corcoran and I talked about spirituality and how that relates to his brand new record entitled The Mecca. We really got into a lot of subjects and just the how-tos and the grind of the everyday life of a working musician, how he balances that with the family, with the wife, with the new baby. I think you guys are going to really like this, and I think you're going to really like his music. I played 3 selections from his brand new record throughout the podcast, so stay tuned, check it out, drop me a line, let me know what you think. Enjoy the show. I want to welcome the one and only Corcoran Holt to the Working Artist Project.
Yo, thanks, Darian. Appreciate it, man.
Man, I want to start this interview by just getting a sense of who you are for people who don't know. You know what I mean? So just give me the history of Corcoran Holt.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. I was born on September 18th, 1982, which makes me 35 years old now.
Okay.
And I'm from Washington, D.C. I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, but raised in D.C. And I started on West African percussion when I was little, when I was like 4 years old. In D.C., part of a dance company. And I fell in love with the music right away. And I wanted to play drums in a music program when I was 10 years old. There was an orchestra program called the DC Youth Orchestra. So, I wanted to play drums in there, but there weren't any available spots, so I started playing bass. My dad signed me up on bass because my great-grandfather was a bass player, jazz bass player from North Carolina who lived next door to John Coltrane when John Coltrane was a little kid. So my dad thought that, hey, let's have you play bass because it's like the drums and it goes along with the drums and it's a rhythmic instrument, holds everything together, it's the foundation. So I fell in love with I've always loved music, but I didn't love bass at first. I still wanted to just play percussion. Then once I went to Duke Ellington School of Arts in D.C., which is a performing arts high school in Washington, I started to love to play the bass. You know, once jazz became infused in there and I was able to connect with that music and be creative on the instrument, I fell in love with it. So I've been playing professionally since I've been 16 years old. I've been in New York since I was 2005. I went to undergrad in Virginia, and then I went to grad school in New York at Queens College in 2005. Finished there in 2006, and I've been here ever since. And I just set out a goal just to play with as many musicians as I possibly can, you know, especially the older musicians, you know, so I can get the information while they were still here. And it's been really good so far, man. You know, I'm really thankful. It's been a great career, and it's continuing to move on, man. And you know, I'm all about music and all about family. And now I just had my first child.
All right.
He's 6 weeks old today. Wow. So yeah. So between that and my career and just releasing this record that, you know, we're going to talk about, it's been pretty busy, man. But I'm really thankful, man, to be able to do what I'm doing.
All right, let's get right into it since you mentioned the record, man.
All right.
The record's called The Mecca.
Yep.
What does that mean? Are you Muslim?
No, I'm not. I'm not Muslim, but I'm a spiritual brother though.
Okay, you know good. I want to get into that. I definitely want to get into the spirituality of music later.
I'm a spiritual brother, but the Mecca to me, I'm not speaking of the Mecca in Egypt, like where all the Muslims from around the world travel to. I'm speaking of the Mecca as New York City being the meeting place of the greatest artists in the world. And not even just artists, but a lot of people from all over, in whatever profession. A lot of people come from all over the world, and they come to New York, and they meet, and they grow, and they create, and they have experiences, and then hopefully they become great at what they do.
Right.
So to me, the Mecca is about my journey from Washington, D.C. to New York and being in New York. Okay. Like every day of being in New York, playing with these different musicians, and everybody on the record, every single person came from somewhere else to New York. No one is from New York.
Okay.
Really.
So wait, who you got on the record?
So on the record, I have, of course, myself playing bass and djembe. I have Stacy Dillard, who's originally from Muskegon, Michigan, but he's been in New York for quite some time. He's one of the best out here. Okay. A good friend of mine. I have him on tenor and soprano saxophone. Josh Evans.
Oh yeah.
On trumpet.
Yep.
Originally from Hartford. Benito Gonzalez from Venezuela originally, and he's in New York. We met in DC back in the day, and connected, and we played with many different people. We used to play in Kenny Garrett's band together at the same time.
Okay.
Got McClinty Hunter on drums, who's originally from Detroit, by way of Baltimore, by way of DC. So he's like all the soulful cities wrapped in one. Right. And we've been cool for like the last 20 years, playing with different people. We also played with Kenny Garrett together. I have Rudy Bird on percussion, originally from Jamaica. And he came to New York. He's the elder of the band. He came to New York when he was 12 years old.
Oh wow!
Back in the day, So he's played with everybody. Some of your favorite musicians from Kenny Garrett all the way to Lauryn Hill, all the way to Michael Jackson.
Wow!
So Rudy has he's like the Captain Planet. He's like the Captain Planet of the band. He creates that earth, fire, wind, water element.
Right. See, that's interesting because if you first of all, y'all got to listen to the record. I'm gonna play some of the music, during this interview, but your music kind of fuses all these different styles. It's not like you can just be like, you like a jazz nerd,
Right. Nah, it's everything.
Yeah, you pull from all your influences.
All my influences, man. From go-go music, which we'll talk about, being from DC. Mm-hmm. But also I have Richard Padron. He's a Cuban-American guitar player, originally from like Miami, Florida. But we met like in my first year of being in New York, and he's just incredible, virtuosic, just ridiculously talented guitar player. And then I had the master guitarist, Russell Malone, playing on one of the tunes, a ballad with me. And Mavis Swanpool, who's a great vocalist, a great friend of mine. She's originally from Durham, North Carolina, but she's been in New York. She's incredible vocalist, one of my favorite vocalists. And then, who else? There's a lot of people on here, obviously, as you can hear. And Andre Murchison.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Trombone. Yeah, he's playing trombone on a couple of tunes. And we met in New York. He's originally from Savannah, Georgia. Right. So, like I said, everybody's from somewhere different. And these are people that, some of my closest friends that are all doing amazing things in the world that, we've all grown together over these last 14 years, and it's crazy, man. When I look at it, everybody is playing with different people. People have families. Some people have left New York, come back. Yeah. It's just been a constant growing process for everybody. So that's the whole premise of the record. Is, the Mecca being New York City, the meeting of the minds.
So, like, man, how do you get the inspiration to create your art? You know what I mean? Because this is your first record.
Right.
Most cats write their first record in their 20s.
Yeah, right.
But
they do.
You took a different path.
Yeah.
Why did you take that path? And then what also was the inspiration for that creation?
Right. Well, I took that path, man. I waited till I was 35. I could have done a record when I was 23, but I didn't want to rush the process, man. I knew that I was just moving to New York. I had played with some folks, but it was like, come on, man. I want to truly be patient with the process and have something to say, record something, and be able to listen to it 15 years from now and be like, man, that was a great first record. I love that record. Right. Some people listen back to their first record like, oh, man, what was I doing? They cringe at it.
Right.
So I just wanted to take another direction in that and have some experiences. And I'm inspired by all the people that I play with and all the places that I go. You know, so the more I was traveling, the more inspiration I had. The more I was living, the more inspiration I had. You know, you gotta go through good times, you gotta go through bad times, and then you can really create something, because that's what art is. You know, art imitates life. So a lot of times people, they're like 20 years old and they record a record, and that's awesome. You know, that could work. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think about, like, back in the day, even with somebody like Lee Morgan, 18 years old, playing with Trane,
right?
But he was 18 years old playing with Trane. Right. So there's other situations, and it was a whole nother time period. And for me, it was like, I need to live and actually be able to put something and have a meaning and a story behind it, and be able to talk about it. You know, now that I'm older, I could actually stand in front of thousands of people and talk about it and connect with them. If I was 20 years old, you couldn't. I might be a little shy and my words wouldn't come out the right way, you know. But I've been inspired by all these wonderful people that, you know, these different leaders that I played with, you know, from Jimmy Heath on down the list, you know what I mean? Like, the older guys all the way to my own age, you know, everything counts. So I needed to be true to that process, man.
No, I like that, man. And one thing I do like, you know, of course, I listen to this whole record, you know, a bunch of times, you know. Yeah. And the one thing I like most about you as a person and musician is how connected you are to the higher being or spirituality, whatever that means for you, and whatever that means for my listeners. Some people that's Jesus, some people is Muhammad, you know, like whoever it is, whatever it is, you are connected to it. Yeah. How do you get to that place?
Well, I think that, you know, that takes time, man. I am a Christian, you know, and I have gone to church. I don't go to church every Sunday, but you know, man, to get to that place, it's also about your ancestors too, for me. You know, like reflecting on those people that came before you that are no longer here, you know, presently in the physical form. They're not here, but them actually watching over you. And that was another thing. My ancestors inspired me also. Those people that came before me inspired me to do this whole project.
You got a whole track dedicated.
Yeah, I got a whole track, yeah. And then if you know, a lot of people don't buy CDs and they don't read the liner notes anymore, but I break down all of that. Everything as far as that's concerned, you know. And it's very important, man, for me to tap in spiritually. And the way I do that is by playing and feeling the audience and actually opening my heart and opening myself as I play, and to get to that moment. And I've learned that from different people, but I have to say that I learned that mostly from playing with Kenny Garrett for the last 8 years, because he puts himself out there from the very beginning to the very end of the show. And that's something that people need to feel, you know. A lot of times as jazz musicians, and I hate to just say the term jazz musicians, you know, but we playing for each other. Right. A lot of times we're not playing for the audience, for those people that are listening, and that's the problem. Right. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you have to understand, like, these people need to hear this right now, or these people need to actually know where I am right now. And and you can't do anything without that higher power. You know, not that you go to church and, you know, you're shouting, you know, shout music, you know, people get touched, and that's what you need in music, whether you're Christian, Buddhist or not. You know, like, I have all different types of religions in my band, and I play with all different types of people, but the spirituality, you know, that having that higher power, that faith, that drives everything, man.
It's funny because you know what I just thought about, which may sound crazy, is like, you ever seen those Michael Jackson concerts? Yeah. And then immediately I thought about church, and you know how people passing out at church. So going to a Michael Jackson concert for a lot of people was a spiritual experience. Yes. You see what I'm saying? Yes. And then when I went to see Kenny Garrett, when you guys were playing, I felt like I had a spiritual experience. You know? Right. I also grew up in church, and I still play in church and stuff now. So, like, do you feel like when you're performing this new music, the Mecca, you got some motherfuckers out there passing out?
I do, man. Like, bro, we were in Dizzy's before the record even came out, you know, and we were playing. And, you know, some people are very conservative at jazz shows. Right.
Especially Dizzy's.
Yeah, especially Dizzy's. So we start hitting, and we're playing, and people automatically, I'm watching, and they're like connecting. Like, I start the show off playing djembe.
Okay.
So I remember Frank Lacey was there, and he started calling me Kunta. He was like, "Damn, Kunta." He's like, you scaring them people up in there, because it's a not really necessarily your crowd that is used to hearing like African rhythms right off the bat. Right. You know what I'm saying? And then, so I hit him hard. And then eventually towards the end of the show, man, everybody was out of their seats and dancing in dizzies.
Right. Exactly.
Because we gotta get back to that, and we gotta be able to get everybody to tap in spiritually to what's happening. Mm-hmm. Because and a lot of times when people they'll tap in spiritually to what's happening, they think they're not, and they really are, or they don't allow themselves to. But you got to make them feel comfortable musically as well as personally. Like when I talk to the audience to get them engaged, to let them know, oh man, that's what this song is about. Because then they'll listen to it, and then it frees them up, and they can connect to it.
They'll use their imagination and start pulling in their own
experiences.
Damn,
I had an experience like this too. Damn, that's why that song sounds like that. That's why he had to get this particular person to be on this particular song. Exactly. That's how this record. That's how it is, man. Like every person, I had to choose every single person specifically to be on these tracks, man.
See, I like that. That's a good point. Something that nobody has ever talked about before.
Right.
Like when you're creating music, and Duke Ellington used to say this. Mm-hmm. He would write music for the people in the band currently.
That's right.
Because you have to tap into, and you can talk more about this, tap into those individual personalities to bring out the emotion that you're going for.
Right. Exactly. Like you often hear people, and nothing against labels, nothing against record labels, because I wanted to pitch this record to plenty of record labels. But the more I started speaking to certain labels, and listening to what other people were telling me, they were like, man, you may not be able to really put your personal thing into this. They're kind of selecting who they want to be on the record, how they want to market the record, all of this stuff. So I decided to go another route and start my own label. Yep. And release them on my own label. And it was just very important, because you just had to be true to it, man. Had to be true to it. And a lot on what I was gonna say is a lot of these record labels, they choose who they want to be, and they make these bands. Get this person on bass, get this person on drums, get this person on trumpet, saxophone, whatever.
All of a sudden it's their band and not yours.
Right. It's the label's band, and then the music doesn't necessarily speak true, because funny enough, everybody on this record in one way or another has been connected in different situations. Mm-hmm. Like if you hear Josh and Stacy play together, like you can hire whoever you want to play together, but you want it to be natural. Right. You don't want it to just be what's on the page written. You want them to be able to create and have that freedom and be able to have that conversation. Because everybody in the band, we just we get together, we have a good time. You know what I'm saying? Like we party, we play some music. We talk about what's going on in our lives, and then we hit on the bandstand, and then it comes out that way, because you got to be able to have a conversation with people off the bandstand in order to really truly have a conversation with them on the bandstand.
So y'all hear that? This shit is free.
It's important. Hey man, hey man,
that's what's up, man.
People forget, man.
Now, earlier you alluded to looking backwards at your ancestors in order to go forward.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you personally, you go up to Harlem and you play for what you call your ancestors.
Yeah, the elders.
Your elders.
Who will be ancestors.
Who will be ancestors.
Yes.
But so how do you honor what has happened, but also move the music forward? Because sometimes in jazz we get in this perpetual cycle of honoring Duke.
Right.
Duke don't need no more honor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, but at the same time, you got to respect Duke.
Right. So this all goes back to the whole spiritual thing of what I'm talking about. Like, there's different characteristics and spiritual aspects of Duke Ellington's music, of Monk's music, of Trane's music, of Miles, of Bird, of Dizzy. Just the list goes on and on. you know, and a lot of times in jazz, we're taught to transcribe all of these solos and play note for note when we're not really transcribing the vibe and the essence of what that artist is really bringing. So my thing is that like I'm reading about, you know, the type of stuff that these cats are dealing with, and their music sounded a certain way because they were living during a certain time, you know. And let's say some people say swing is dead or whatever, right? No, it's not. It's not dead. It's just how you think about it. You know what I'm saying? If you swinging and you putting it in what you were dealing with 1954 to what you're dealing with in 2018, you know, there's a lot of stuff, man. You know, feel is feel. You know what I'm saying? So I honor these ancestors. I'm not playing you know, Duke's music on the record, you know what I'm saying? But I'm playing some of the characteristics of Duke. I'm playing some of the characteristics of Chuck Brown, you know what I'm saying, which was a godfather of go-go in DC. I'm playing some of the characteristics of Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, you know what I'm saying, in a way of how I feel it naturally. Right. It's not necessarily copying what they already did, because you can't, man, you're not going to recreate something and make it better than what came, because that was the sound of that time. Right. So it's like taking that and understanding that, and knowing how to play it and how to put yourself into it. You know what I'm saying? And it's all about, you know, honoring them. Like at the end of the record, I had that long list of people that, you know, people that were my family members to artists and stuff that I know inspire me. You know what I'm saying? Daily. You know, and they're all ancestors. And, you know, it's true, man. It's just like, what I've learned from them is how they lived and what they did while they're living, and it inspires me, and I know what I have to do while I'm living. And then when I go up to Harlem and I drum for my elders, you know, I mean, some of these people are there mentally, and some of them aren't. You know, you have people with dementia that's so deep that they can't respond to anything, but they respond to the music, though. You know what I'm saying? They would like wake up, start clapping on 2 and 4, or start dancing, and then as soon as I stop, they just
back inside.
Go right back inside. So like I look at that, man. I look at it as an exchange. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving them something by waking up and drumming, and they're giving me something because they're giving me inspiration to live that life, to live long enough to see the things that they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And it's just really inspiring just to look into their faces and see that, wow, man, I'm bringing happiness to this person who doesn't even know really what's going on anymore. Right. But they're having a moment. They're having a moment of happiness, and I can connect with them. Right. So all of that inspires me and makes me comfortable, regardless of where I'm playing, who I'm playing with, or if I'm leading my band or if I'm not leading my band. If I have to talk in front of thousands of people, it's like, hey, man, it's letting me know that I have experiences and I'm influenced and I'm inspired, and I could do that because I know I can connect to them. Right. And I believe that, you know, I truly believe that we have ancestors that watch over us, man.
Oh, 100%.
100% of the time, man. Yeah. When somebody passes along that knew you and was there for you, that loved you, and they're no longer here physically, they got your back, man. Yeah. They got your back. Yeah. And I definitely am a witness to that, man. Yeah. You know?
Man, I want to switch gears. And I want to talk about fatherhood, you know? Yeah. I know a lot of musicians worry about that, you know, like, man, when I become a father, like, you know, I want to be around, I don't want to be around, or how it's going to affect me, how it's not. Like, how has fatherhood so far this 6 weeks? You're a veteran now. Like, how has it affected your creativity and focus?
It's affected my creativity and my focus in a positive way. You know, I was playing the other night at the Zinc Bar, and this drummer told me, you know, he said to me, he said, "Damn, man, you playing like you playing different. You know, you playing like with more focus. You're not like fishing around, like you know what you need to do. You know what's effective. You're like, it just seems like, you know, I'm playing now for not just for me, but I'm playing to set an example for him, to set an example for my family, you know, my wife, and, you know, and it's just it's a whole nother level of inspiration, man. Now, it is scary sometimes, because you realize the responsibility that you have.
Right.
And also, for me, man, I realize how fast he's going to grow up and how I'm definitely a family oriented type of cat. I don't want to be away all the time, come back 3 months. He's big, he's talking, he might not totally remember everything. I don't want to miss out. So that's a challenge that I'm dealing with now, today. As I set things up and as I look at my schedule coming up, there's a lot of time where I'm gonna be gone, coming up. But what I have to do is now I'm thinking on a larger scale.
Okay.
Ways to still be able to travel, tour, be inspired, because that's really what inspires me to continue going. Is being on the road and being able to play with different people. That's what I do. That's what I know how to do. So now I have to take that. And now I have to start thinking of other things, go back to how I used to think. Okay, when you were 17 years old, what did you say you wanted to do? And I'm like, well, okay. I said I wanted to move to New York eventually. I wanted to be able to play with different folks. I wanted to be able to travel the world, do that. I wanted to get my degrees early so I can get all of that out the way, which I did. Got my degrees out the way in 2006. And then it's like, okay. Now, what happens after that? And then I was like, I want to be able to do that. I want to be respected in my field, And then once my family comes, I want to be able to start the next chapter of hooking up this next generation coming up, behind, the next generation and still play. So I'm like thinking about all of this stuff, man. And it drives you crazy because you start thinking about location. Like, do I want to raise my kid in New York City?
Right.
No, I really don't. But at the same time, you start realizing, okay, I'm married. My wife is from New York.
Right.
You got to be able to compromise. You got to be able to figure out what's best for the family, for the entire thing. You have dreams and aspirations and just kind of stick to them. So I'm thinking about, my point is anyway, as I babble along, I'm thinking about like different things that I could do that are extremely effective that are going to allow me to be around him more.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to do that because because that's important to me. When I look at him, I'm like, damn, man, you so cute. You know what I'm saying? You're like, I'm your dad. Like, I'm looking at you. I'm actually your dad. That shit blows my mind. Like, I'm somebody's father now. That's like, right. I'm normally the dude. Like, wow, man, congratulations, bro. Woo, I'm glad that's not me. You know what I'm saying? But since he's come in, man, I'm so glad to be a father, man. Like, this kind of like just changed the game for me. It's a whole nother level of inspiration. Yeah. So now it's just like, okay, I am at a point where I'm freaking out a little bit sometimes where it's like, dang, what do I do? Yeah. But I trust, and that all goes back to the ancestors, to being inspired, and then just to letting that come and being an open vessel and just letting the information come. I'm speaking to my mentors. Right. You know what I'm saying? Choosing the right mentors to speak to. Yeah, because we got cats that we love that take care of business on the bandstand, but don't take care of nothing else. Right. So we got to find them dudes that or the women who who are really people who are married, people who understand what it's like to be a great parent and still be able to be creative and be effective. So, man, it's nothing like it, man. It's just been amazing, bro. Just being a father, being a father. I ain't sleeping much, but it's like everything I'm doing on another level. I'm trying to do it on another level.
Yeah. So playing with Kenny Garrett over the years and playing with all the other legends that you've had the opportunity to play with, like what are the like 3 things you could say that you've learned just overall from having those experiences?
Well, I've learned a level of confidence, when I'm playing. I've learned how to, and I'm still working on how to put myself out, regardless of who I'm playing with, be able to play myself. I've learned how to, as we spoke earlier, how to tap in spiritually from the very beginning. Because if I'm not tapped in spiritually from the very, very beginning, it's not even worth it, man. Yeah. Sometimes, I've learned how to speak to an audience, how to read, how to somewhat understand what an audience needs to hear at that moment. And not always about what we just want to play at that moment, right, but what's going to be effective to the audience? What's going to be effective as to the band members, keeping them interested? I've learned, I've learned how to be even more open-minded culturally. I mean, I was traveling with my family from a very young age, but going to like every continent around the world numerous amount of times, you know, man, you pick up so many things from just how people are culturally, you know, and how to put that into your music and how to put that into yourself. What food to eat and what food not to eat. You know, I've learned how to treat, you know, because I've worked with a lot of different people. Some people know how to treat you in the band and some people don't. So I've learned how to treat people in the band and make them feel respected, because the more your bandmates respect you and the more open you are, the more they're going to want to play with you, man. Yeah. And the better the music is going to sound.
Right.
You know, working on, you know, you just got to put your ego aside. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to be confident and you got to handle business, but you got to, it's not worth it to be an asshole and rub people the wrong way all the time. It's good to be firm. And that's what I'm learning. It's good to be firm. Don't let anybody walk over top of you. But at the same time, man, you got to be able to communicate musically and verbally to what's going on. And I've learned patience, man. I've learned patience from different people I played with. You know, amazing people, man. Like, you know, how to put humor in the music, you know, and just how to not be too tight, because I've worked with some people who I love dearly, who are some of the greatest musicians in the world, that are tight as hell. You know, but then you start to see that they start to relax the more that they live, right, and the more that they're open, and the more that you can learn something. You got to realize that you can learn something from anybody.
Oh yeah.
You can learn something from somebody who's been playing their instrument for 50 years, or you can learn something from somebody who started 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, you really can, because then you see the aspect of things needing to be, you know, you want things to seem new. You know how, like, that's one thing I learned that's one thing Kenny told me. You know, Miles used to tell him, don't get bored with it. You know, be like a kid, like a child. You know, when they discover something, it's exciting, it's new. And then, you know, then find something new about what you're doing. Every day in your life and in your music. And I've learned how to put the music, how to put my life into the music and play my life. I don't want to just play music. Now, I want to be amazing technically. I want to be able to play every mode, every scale, every bit of language, bebop, whatever, hip hop, Latin, all of that, you know, be able to just be a beast. But then you got guys who sound like machines and they're not really playing life. Right. I want to play a life. I want people to be like, damn, what was he feeling on that one? You know, damn, what made you do that? Right. Was you like, I was talking to this dude on the radio, and he said to me, man, Corcoran, you at the Detroit Jazz Festival, you sat in on one song and you came in there and like you played so much shit in one moment, and the shit was effective. It made people feel like damn, what's up with this cat? Then I just vanished after that and rolled out. Right. And I told him that, for one, I had a flight that I had to catch. It had been a long day, and everybody was playing like, not everybody, but some of the folks were playing like tools. They were playing kind of like just robots, very robotic and generic. I was like, man, I got to be able to put myself into this. I got to put how I'm feeling in this, and that's what's important. And that's what when people hear me play and when people see me play, you know, I want them to understand what it is that I have inside. Right. I want to be as clear as I could possibly be.
Yeah, and I know that's true. You know who taught me that?
Who that?
Your homie Ashlyn.
Oh yeah,
I told you that.
Yeah.
When I first met Ashlyn, I was like, you know. Yeah. I was like, man, I feel every time I play drums now, I feel weird. He was like, well, maybe your ass need to feel weird.
There you go.
And I was walking away, like, the fuck?
What does that mean?
Like, right? And then, you know, I thought about it, I was like, he was trying to just get me to understand the same thing that you just said. You gotta, however you are feeling in the moment, embrace that
and put it out
in
there.
The music.
Put it in the music.
Don't fight it.
Don't fight it, because that's what music is.
Right.
Music is it's our expression, man. We're lucky, man. We're blessed to be able to pick up an instrument and put how we actually feeling at that very moment into what we're doing, and be able to broadcast it to anybody who's there that can hear it, and anybody who's there that can see it. You know, and that's what's important, man.
Yeah.
Being able to do that.
Yeah. That's what's up. So this next segment of the show, I call it the word game.
Okay.
And so what happens is I say a word, and then you tell me the first story that comes to your mind.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
Freedom.
I was in Romania, and I was backstage, and I found out my best friend, Eric Will, I found out his mom passed away.
Okay.
As I was backstage in Romania. Mm-hmm. And I knew at that moment that it must have been devastating for Eric. And I wasn't there.
Right.
I was all the way in Romania. I couldn't call him. I was trying to call him. He couldn't pick up. And I know Eric is a, cool dude who holds his feelings in, and it'll just seem like nothing's wrong. But I know that I had to kill him. So it was killing me, man. And I told Kenny right before. And I was like, man, I was like, Kenny, man, I don't know, man, if I could, how I'm feeling, man, if I could like play. Like I actually told him I don't know if I could play right now. And he kind of looked at me and he was like, man, you got to use that and put it in to what we're about to do, man. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. You got to be able to do that, Just like when Mulgrew passed away, Kenny would cry on the stage, scream for like 10 minutes, just start crying. The audience be like, what's going on? Wow. But he needed that release. That's freedom. So we were playing a very up-tempo tune, and I normally solo like last on this tune. Kenny like saw me. I was playing. I was like getting teary-eyed, and I was playing, and then he just stopped and he just pointed at me, and then he just told me to play. So then I just started playing. I must have played for like 7 minutes straight. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And I was like drooling and crying, looking crazy.
You were serenading.
But I felt free, man. And I felt free. And then after that moment, I felt like, okay, I was able to get that out. And the audience was like, wow, I don't know what happened to him, but I feel what happened to him. I saw him upset. Mm-hmm. I saw him release it. We received it. And now he's playing and he's moving on. And that's what music is all about. That's what this experience is all about. So that's a similar sense of freedom. And to not be free is when you're playing with somebody and you're as bass players and as drummers, we support the people that we're playing with. But when you're playing in a musical situation and you don't have an opportunity to truly express yourself, which can happen quite often. This is something that band leaders need to understand. Your music's going to be a lot better when you give people that actual opportunity to do that. Right. It's almost like shushing them on the bandstand. If they got something to say and they could say it, allow them to say it. Now, if they can't say it and they're not ready,
wait,
because they could destroy it. Right. But you know what I'm saying? So there's been situations where I have not been free, so I've had to remove myself. And this is stuff that I've had to realize,
Of course.
Like what are you playing for? Mm-hmm. What are you playing for? Like we're playing to express ourselves. I can't express myself, man. Like I don't have to solo. Right. I don't have to solo, but I got to be able to vibe with the drummer or the piano player or the horn player. I got to be able to vibe with somebody. We got to be spiritually in there so we can be free.
Exactly.
And that's to me, that's a sense of freedom.
Washington, D.C.
Yes, that's the best city on the planet. At least when I was coming up.
Okay. All right.
So when I was in college, I went to college at Shenandoah University, which is an hour and a half outside of D.C. And at that time, I actually recruited Michael Bowie, who was one of the best bass players in D.C., one of my big brothers on the DC scene. And in the world scene, Mike is a bad cat. He's played with so many people. Abby Lincoln, Betty Carter, just a ton of people.
Right.
So anyway, man, so I had Mike recruited to teach me at Shenandoah because I was going to leave Shenandoah because I was in culture shock, bro.
Okay.
Coming from DC, coming from like Chocolate City at that time and going out there to the middle of nowhere where like 85% of the people were from the countryside of Virginia. And I was like one of the only brothers there. And I was like used to like being at Duke Ellington, which was like one of the most creative places ever. It was just like I was in culture shock. So I got Mike to teach me, man, and I was studying with Mike. And one day I'm in my house with Ashlyn. We were housemates out in Virginia, Winchester, Virginia. I get a phone call from Mike, and he's like, Corcoran, can you make this gig, man, for me? I need you to sub for me. And automatically right there, my stomach kind of like was like, sub for you? What are you talking about? You know? He's like, well, Curtis Fuller is coming into play at Blues Alley, which is a club in DC, which is one of the top clubs in DC. And it's the Curtis Fuller Sextet, Wallace Roney, John Hicks, Curtis Fuller, Javon Jackson. I believe Carl Allen was on it the first time. Jimmy Cobb the second time.
Okay.
You know, and I'm like, hold up, Mike, can I call you right back? So I hang the phone up. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. Damn, I had to catch my breath, and I was like, man, I don't think I could do this, man. I was like nervous, you know. I was like, man, I don't want to mess up their gig, you know. So I called Mike back. I said, Mike, so you said Curtis Fuller Sextet, da 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 da. And he was like, yeah, man. He was like, so you want to do it? Can you do it? Can you cover for me for the weekend? I'm like, Mike, you think I'm ready to do that? He's like, I wouldn't be calling and asking you if you weren't ready. He's like, this is what you need.
Right.
You need this. You need to always surround yourself with people that are much better than you in order to get better. So this is what people did for me. I'm doing this for you. So I was like, all right, cool. So I ended up going to DC, playing with Curtis, man. We kicked that one tune off. A la Mode was the first tune. That joint was fast, bro, like super fast. But I felt all right. I was like, damn, man, I'm up here with these cats playing at Blues Alley. I'm from DC, and I had never played at Blues Alley before.
Oh, wow. And
my first time was with Curtis. And so then I thought I had everything cool. And then he said, all right, now we're going to feature our trumpet player. This is my Wallace Roney DC story. And he said, we're going to feature our trumpet player on the ballad of his choice. And I'm having a feeling that he might want to play around midnight. Okay.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. So I'm like, oh, shit, around midnight, okay. And at that time, I kind of knew the changes from the real book. Kind of. And you know, them changes are like totally wrong, bro. So they kick off the intro, just like Miles and all of them. I didn't know where it was. I didn't know the intro. So we started playing, bro. Started playing a tune. It's cool. First of all, it's cool in the club, bro.
Right.
We started playing. I started sweating bullets. I can't even look up. I'm looking down. Right, I'm missing every change, bro. I'm missing every change. My mom is there. You know, the place is sold out. And I'm looking like that. I'm looking like the young boy. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking like the young boy who was all right on the first tune, who's messing up the second tune. So I'm like revealing the fact that I needed this and I needed to grow. So I butchered the tune, bro. Wallace took his solo, turned around at me, looked at me in the eyes, and he said, sucked his teeth, shook his head, and walked off the stage. I was like, dang, my heart hit the floor. So after that same night, I was leaving out, and I felt kind of bad. I mean, everything else was cool after that, but I felt bad about that. I had thought about that the whole gig. John Hicks said, hey, young man, come here real quick. He said, sit right here. He patted on the piano bench. He said, sit right here, man. Sit right here. Check this out. And he started playing it chord by chord from the very beginning to the very end. Intro. You got that? I said, can you do that again? Did it again. I was like, visually,
taking notes.
Taking notes, you know what I'm saying? Played it. You know, of course I couldn't remember everything, but I remembered it because I was able to tap in and focus. Tapped in, focused, and then when we played it again the next day, and actually we played it again the next day, and I played it, and it was cool. And then Wallace kind of looked at me and kind of like, you know, like a little small smile, and the gig was cool and it was fun. Then the next year I came back and did it again, but it was just a fact, man. Like John Hicks, he actually took the time, told me to sit down and showed it to me, bro. You know, that's something that, you know, I feel like I was kind of on the tail end of those cats, you know, that would do that, you know. Right. And John Hicks is now an ancestor, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, you know, it's that's one story. That's one DC story of me feeling like I got shot down in my hometown. But then that gig helped me, and that connection from that gig helped me.
I'm curious just about how you craft your career and like the direction. Like, do you have a clear direction for your career? You know what I mean? I'm sure you do it now. I mean, you have a kid, so you're just a little more focused. But just in the past, where you're like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna execute these things, and I'm gonna be here by this point. Or were you just kind of more just like, all right, I'm just gonna see how things.
Well, I have to be honest, man. I had a clear plan. Okay. From high school, from being at Duke Ellington School of Arts, I had a clear plan because Davey Yarborough, who's my mentor and the head of the jazz department there, he made us young professionals. So I knew from that point that I could be a professional. You know, I learned how to be on time. I learned how to work with these people. So I had a plan of that. As I said earlier in the interview, there was a time I wanted to go to college, and then I wanted to make my way to New York. And I knew when I had that gig with Curtis, when I was still an undergrad, these guys were in New York. And then I got called for some other things. Benny Golson, trombone summits with Steve Teray, Wycliffe Gordon, Slide Hampton, Fred Wesley, all of these different guys. So I was taking every opportunity that I was having, I felt like I needed to be ready for. And I knew I wanted to get to New York, and I knew if I make a good impression with these guys, hopefully I could work with them once I got to New York. Right. So that was my plan, you know. High school, I wanted to go to New York right away. My dad was like, no, you're not going to New York at 17. It's good for you to stay and develop. I was frustrated. I was like, nah, but it worked out because I was able to play with some legends without being distracted and trying to play like everybody else. Right. As a lot of young guys in New York tend to do. You know, I felt like I was a young man by the time I got to New York, which is important. You know, we've talked about that before. Of course. Yeah. You know, so that was my plan, was to connect with these guys, be able to play with these guys, you know. And so I have made a plan, man, you know. And like I said, my plan was to tour the world, play with as many people as I can, always continue to do that. And now my new plan is, of course, I'm married, so I have to be able to compromise. I'm married to a very strong woman who's very creative and very artistic, who has dreams and goals and aspirations of her own. Perfect. So now I'm learning over the last couple of days how important it is to be able to support of course, whoever you're with, their dreams as well. Because everything happens at different times for people, you know. So
and that can be hard for us because you know we get so caught up in our own thing, and it's just
very
like,
hard, bro.
Because we're single minded.
Yeah,
like, this is what I'm doing. Oh yeah, you doing it? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
like,
but you know, we have to be that way at a certain point. That's why it's good to be that way when we're younger, right? You know, because if I was thinking about everybody else at one point and I wasn't thinking about what I was doing, I wouldn't be able to get to where I am. Exactly. Now, you know what I'm saying? So now I'm thinking about the whole complete package. I'm thinking about the next generation. I'm thinking about trying to open this art center in DC where I could bring different musicians that I play with, you know, different bands weekly to do clinics and be involved with the inner city youth. You know, I'm thinking about all of this stuff. And this is a plan that I had. Me and Eric was sitting on the back porch chilling, blazing, like when we was 17, you know, talking about this, you know, and then it was just like, okay, yeah, man, we're gonna go to New York, we're gonna play with different people, when we get married, you know, then we could open up like a art center, you know, and we could create like a little Duke Ellington, you know, little like miniature Duke Ellington School of Arts sort of center, and then we could bring people in. So that's my next goal. Next step. Right. The next goal is to do that, and of course to just keep recording and have my own label and invite other people to record on the label that I have, you know, and still always seek counsel from my mentors, man. But I'm taking it one day at a time, but I'm thinking about everything in a strategic way because I've always been that way, man. Like even people I played with I remember when I first got in Kenny's band, that first week I was sitting next to him on the plane. He was like, all right, so what's your 5-year plan, man? Like that. That's the first thing he said to me. What's your 5-year plan? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Right. And I told him, and he was like, all right. And then there's 8 years. It was 8 years later that I was able to kind of do some of the other things. I told him I wanted to have, you know, be able to do my record, you know, be able to, you know, hopefully be starting a family, you know what I'm saying? So like, you know, there's this book called The Secret that my mom always tells me about.
Yeah,
you know about that book,
of
man?
Course.
And when
you
put your actual thoughts, and they manifest,
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
and so you always have to it's good to have a plan, man.
Yeah.
It's good to have a plan. So I've always been that dude to have a plan.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Only thing I'll add to it is sometimes for the young kids listening to the show is to remember to be flexible within your plan.
That's right.
Because life happens.
Oh yeah, life happens, bro.
You know, my mom used to tell me that life gonna happen to your ass.
Yeah,
like,
and it does.
It does,
and it always will.
Yeah,
it always will, man.
My daddy used to say, or it says, life has a funny way of whipping your ass.
See, these are the things we gotta remember, and these are things we gotta tell our kids, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, we in our 30s, man. You know, and it's like we're not old, but we
you know, spring chicken, baby.
We ain't no spring chicken, bro. My back hurts. You know, my back hurts from doing all sorts of stuff, man. Physically, I'm feeling it a lot more, so I also realize I got to take care of myself a lot more. Yeah. And that's in the plan too. Yeah. But life definitely has a way of whooping your ass, and it's good. It's good though. Yeah. Because you need that. Yeah. Wow. But you also got to be able to learn from it.
Right. Yeah. So, man, I'm going to close it out with this question, and it's, what are the 3 things you're most thankful for?
3 things I'm most thankful for, is definitely my family. You know, my wife, my son, my mom, my dad, my sister, my stepfather, uncles, you know, aunts, my friends. I'm going to put all of that in one category.
Okay. All right.
Friends and family. I'm thankful for inspiration, man. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't have that inspiration. I'm thankful to be able to have that inspiration and to be healthy, you know, as I'm inspired, my health and my inspiration. And I'm just thankful for, man, creativity in my life and being able to draw creativity from my life and knowing what my passion has always been. Yeah. I know since I was 4 years old what I wanted to do. You know, I'm thankful for that, man.
Yeah, that's deep.
I'm thankful for God. Of course, thank God for all of that, because ain't none of that possible without God. Yeah.
So, man, before we go, I do want to give you the opportunity to plug your CD. Where can they buy it? Your website, and any shows you got coming up in the future you want people to know about?
No doubt, yeah. So my website is corcoranholt.com. That's COR, another CORAN, Holt, HOLT.com. So that's my website that's going to have all my scheduling stuff. And it has like information, photos, stuff about the band. You could buy hard copies of my record, the Mecca. You could buy that at cdbaby.com. Okay. Hard copies. You could buy it digitally and download it digitally everywhere where you could purchase it and download it. You know, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Spotify, you name it. It's there. Okay. It's there. Just type it in. The next things that we have coming up this month, the big releases that we have coming up this month are March 22nd at Birdland.
Okay. In New York City.
In New York City. Birdland, New York City. It's the evening show. I believe it's 6:00 in the evening. So you can Google that, Birdland Jazz, and then scheduling, and you could purchase your tickets there, and we'll be there with the quintet. Myself, Stacy Dillard, Josh, Freddie Hendrick is actually sitting there for Josh on this one. McClinty Hunter, Benito Gonzalez. And then so we have March 22nd, then we have March 26th at Smalls Jazz on the 26th, and that's at 10:30 p.m. and that's in the Village in New York City. You could go to smallsjazz.com, or you could also go to my website and you can see all of that stuff also. And then Bethesda Blues and Jazz, that's the Washington D.C. release, major release, big room, beautiful room, new location in Bethesda, Maryland, and that's going to be on March the 29th And that's 2 shows, 7:30 and 9:30 p.m. So that's Bethesda Blues and Jazz, and you could Google that. Just Google that. Go to scheduling, and Corcoran Holt is my name, and hope to see you guys there, and all of the other stuff coming up. I tour with other people. I'm about to go to Japan on Wednesday. With Kenny Garrett. So I have a lot of that stuff. So I'm doing my own thing in between a lot of the things that I'm doing. But I can keep everybody updated if they go to corcoranholt.com and put their email in and subscribe, and they'll get all the information daily as it's upgraded.
Perfect.
All right.
So y'all check it out, corcoranholt.com. And I'll have it linked in the show notes. Click it. Go check out Corcoran. Buy his record. Download his record.
Yes.
Listen to it repeatedly on Spotify so he keeps getting paid.
Yes.
Corcoran, man, thanks for coming on the Working Artist Project.
Thanks, Darren. I appreciate you, man.
If you like what you heard, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. The Working Artist Project is brought to you by Second Line Arts Collective. Find out more at secondlinearts.org. I'm Darian Douglas, and this is the Working Artists Project.